Hi Bob, just letting you know, we're muted until we
Probably
begin.
never
You'll
again.
hear us at 6 again when we unmute, okay?
Oh, really? Yeah, that would be good to hear.
I guess.
Let me see.
And she says we're muted till 6.
Oh, is that what she said?
Yeah,
Who said that?
Jessica, I think.
Okay, so read that.
Too much background noise. Oh, that's the problem. I was looking for a big mug, the one I had already used.
Call this meeting to order. Can I get a motion to reconvene in open session, please? Moved by Councillor Dalton, second by Councillor Morrison. That council of the municipality of Huron East reconvene in open session at 6 p.m. All those in favor? And motion carries. Council went into closed session to discuss the position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to apply to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by on behalf of the municipality. We would like to acknowledge that the land we stand upon today is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the neutral peoples. Can I get a mover and a seconder for confirmation of the agenda, please? Moved by Councillor Chartrand, second by Councillor Deal. That the agenda for the regular meeting of council dated July 7, 2026 be adopted as circulated. All those in favor? And motion carries. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest from any member of council this time? Seeing none, can I get a mover and a seconder for the minutes of the previous meeting? Moved by Councillor Wilby, second by Councillor Morrison, that the council of the municipality of Huron East approve the following council meeting minutes as circulated. And that would be the regular meeting of June 23rd, 2026. All those in favor? And motion carries. There are a number of items listed under the consent agenda. Are there any items that anybody would like to have pulled at this time for further discussion? Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not for discussion so much as clarification how they impact us as a municipality. That would be number 1, number 12, and number 14, please.
Number 12 and 14 it was.
Yeah.
I'm
You want me to
assuming
take a
it would take.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure. So number 1 is the, how restrictions of, and strong mayors and restrictions of council. So I think this has been a question we kind of had around the table everywhere about how strong mayor would impact the restrictions for lame duck period. So 8.1, so it just clarifies that the outgoing heads of council are limited from proposing the municipal budget for the year. So if they're not returning, they're unable to propose the budget for 2027. And then you're also restricted from appointing or removing organized structural, approving, authorizing expenditures or liabilities over 50,000. So it's the same as council as a whole. So same restrictions as we kind of figured there would be with the rest of council for 8.1. So those were just clarifying that.
can I just get one other clarification for 8.1 then, because maybe I misunderstood it when I read it. I thought that the strong mayor's power did not allow the mayor to have it as the mayor's budget for 2027, which to me made sense, because if you had never been on council before, but you got elected to be mayor, they didn't want you making the budget up to be whatever you wanted it to be.
That's how I read it.
Yeah, and that's wasn't the way I understood it when you just explained it. It was just if the mayor was gonna put comments in between now and 2027 on next year's budget.
No, I think you're correct. It's that they can't propose the budget for the year following.
Right, so any year
Yes.
after that, it
So
would be back to
because
standard.
they can't do 27, that's right.
Right, okay, thank you. The other one was 8.12 and 8.4.
8.12, I believe it was, correct?
Yeah.
Yep,
So this is just the framework for developer identified parkland dedication. I honestly would have to read through that regulation completely to figure that out, but I think it's just clarifying how a developer can dedicate parkland and how a municipality would be able to reject that parkland based on the use of the land or previous uses of that land. So when I looked at it quickly, it was just, it can't be contaminated, it can't have certain soil samples, things like that. So defining those within the new regulation.
We don't have CBC charges or whatever. Is there any impact that way?
Are you referring to development charges?
I think they call them community benefit charges, CBC. I thought it mentioned that.
When I looked at
Maybe
the
it's
regulation,
CDC.
yeah, I only seen it referring to actual parkland dedication,
Okay, thank you.
which is what we do within our development agreements.
Yeah, okay.
and the last one was 8.14, was it, Bob?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
So Planning Act offenses right now would be through the provincial offenses, and this looks like they're asking if enforcement can be going through the administrative monetary penalties, which is another form of issuing fines for bylaws if a municipality adopted that program. So opposed to going through a provincial offenses and short form wording processes, it's this AMP that you can implement. And so they're hoping that Planning Act can also be incorporated under AMP. So I don't believe it is right now, but that's what they're looking for.
So it would be a benefit for us to agree to something like this?
We would have to buy into the administrative monetary penalties, which we don't have right now. Currently, we go under provincial offenses. And when we're looking at kind of immediate tickets, opposed to going through the full court proceedings, we go through the short form wording process and get that approved by provincial offenses. Which we don't have those in any of our planning bylaws.
So if we did this, we could stop people from breaking the law and collect fines quicker?
Right now, you can't use AMP to do that. So this motion is asking that they can do it that way, which would help them speed up an enforcement process, but it's not allowed yet.
Do you think it would be a good idea for us?
I'd want to have a lot of discussion about it, Bob, because my concern would be is that if we want to start enforcing them on our own, what would our own legal costs be that we could potentially run into? Because there could be no limit to things like that. Sometimes you end up spending a lot of money to chase a nickel.
Yeah,
We'd
that-
also, sorry.
yeah,
Sure.
this is what I would like to know, Mr. Mayor, if there, sometimes you can fritter away a term of council with suits and countersuits and remands, et cetera, and get nowhere real quick. That's what I was wondering about.
Mhm.
I believe it would have to be a review of the whole administration monetary penalties as a whole, which also would have to impact what our bylaw enforcement looks like as well. Just there would be a few impacts with or benefits. We haven't reviewed it or
Bigger fish to fry first.
Possibly.
Yep, thank you.
Are there any other items that anybody would like to have pulled and clarified or discussed? Seeing none, can I get a mover and a seconder to accept, moved by Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Newell? Motion here. That the consent agenda and agenda items 8.1 to 8.16 be received for information and approved. All those in favor? And motion carries. Public meetings, hearings and delegations, 9.1, Jordan Shaw, the Cranbrook Estates Development. So I'm not sure who the speaker is for this, just one person or two? Just myself. Okay. Welcome.
Good evening.
Yeah, no, and I apologize, I just got a little homework to do first. Just a reminder to all those present in this, for this. The final decision will be coming to council on August 11th, not tonight. We're not having a discussion tonight. 2026, there will be no decisions or debate through staff during this meeting. Delegations have 10 minutes to present to council, following questions, followed by questions between council and the delegation. So you have up to 10 minutes to speak on your own. It's not a debate back and forth from council, but if council wants clarification, we won't chew up your 10 minutes. We'll do that after you're done your presentation. And then you can stay there as long as you want and have answers and questions back and forth.
Okay, fair, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and members of council. My name is Jordan Shaw and I'm a resident of Cranbrook. I'm here on behalf of my neighbors to ask council to defer draft plan approval of the Cranbrook Estates subdivision file 4026001 until the serious concerns this community has raised are actually resolved, not simply promised to be resolved at a later stage. I want to keep this focused, so I will start with the single fact I think matters most: the sheer scale of what is being proposed for a community our size. This proposal would more than double Cranbrook. Cranbrook is a very small community. 5 years ago, it was made up of roughly 44 residences. A recent development added another 17 lots, bringing us to about 60 properties today. That one development was already close to a 40% increase in about 5 years, and this community is still absorbing it. Now council is being asked to approve 36 more lots. 36 lots in a settlement of about 60 properties. On its own, that is roughly a 60% increase in one single step. Taken together with the last development, Cranbrook would go from about 44 properties to nearly 100. This community would more than double in size in the span of just a few years. That is not incremental growth. That is a fundamental change to the character, the servicing demands, and the safety of Cranbrook, and it deserves to be planned with that seriousness, not approved on the promise that the details will be sorted out later. Are we included or aren't we? I want to raise something that troubles a great many of us because it goes to how this community is seen. When the municipality prepared its 10-year community service master plan survey, the document that maps out where the municipality will invest in recreation and community facilities over the coming decade, the Cranbrook Community Hall was not included in it. So I have to ask council plainly, what message does that send to the residents of Cranbrook? On one hand, we are apparently not significant enough to appear in the municipality's own 10-year plan for community facilities. On the other hand, we are significant enough to absorb a development that would double our population. We are told this development is about supporting our community, yet our community's own hall did not make a plan. You cannot ask a community to shoulder growth of this magnitude while signaling in your own long-term planning that is not a part of the picture. Cranbrook is going to grow, and Cranbrook Community Hall has to be included in the servicing, in the amenities, and in the very planning documents that decide where investment goes. The concerns behind our petition remain unanswered. Our core concerns have not changed, and they have not been answered to this community's satisfaction. Groundwater and servicing. 36 new homes, each on its own private well and septic system in a small settlement with no municipal water or sewer. Every existing home in Cranbrook already relies on that groundwater and aquifer. Our concern is straightforward. 36 new wells drawing on the water supply and 36 new septic systems discharging into the ground, potentially putting existing residents' wells and septic at real risk. What happens if the water table fluctuates under that new demand and an existing well stops delivering? Who is responsible, and how quickly is that family's water restored, and at whose financial burden? Before anything proceeds, we would ask for a baseline survey of every existing well in the community of residents that wish to participate. So there's a documented starting point to measure any impact against. This is the threshold consideration. Drainage and cost shifting. The Maitland Valley Conservation Authority has identified outstanding drainage requirements, and no legal and sufficient outlet has been confirmed for the stormwater facilities. We ask that the stormwater block be located to drain directly to the Maitland River, and that the plan not fall back on a petition for a new municipal drain under the Drainage Act, which would assess construction and maintenance costs against existing landowners. Parkland, pedestrian safety, and farm protection. Cranbrook has no sidewalks. Children walk on the road and wait for the school bus on the road today. For a single new home is built, adding 36 households means more traffic on roads with no protected walking space. We ask for developer-funded sidewalks or a protected pathway to the bus stops, adequate parkland that cannot quietly be converted into a road, and an acknowledgement of normal agricultural practices registered on the title of every lot to protect our neighboring farms. And every one of these must be secured as a condition of draft plan approval. Because once draft approval is granted, this community has no third-party right of appeal, and the incentive to fix these things quietly disappears, potentially putting future costs on the municipal tax base. We ask that you please measure our petition by what it represents, not just the count. I want to be honest with council about our numbers, because honesty is what earns your trust. This petition carries 34 signatures. In a large municipality, 34 signatures might not sound like a great deal, but Cranbrook is not a large municipality. Cranbrook is roughly 60 properties. 34 signatures represents over half the entire community, and we gathered them in roughly 2 days. This is not a handful of the usual objectors. This is proportionally about as clear a statement as a small community can make. Every one of these neighbors took the time to put their name to their concerns, and since these sheets were submitted, still more residents have contacted us to sign. So this number understates rather than overstates the level of concern in Cranbrook. I would ask council not to weigh it by the raw number, but by the share of Cranbrook community it speaks for, because it speaks for most of us and more every day. What we are asking of council. We're asking to defer draft plan approval of file 4026001. Require a binding commitment from the developer to repair, replace, or provide an alternative supply for any well or septic system shown to be negatively impacted within a defined time frame. Require a direct legal stormwater outlet to the Maitland River without shifting drainage costs onto existing landowners by proposing a municipal drain. To protect our farming community by registering on the title of every lot an acknowledgement of the normal agricultural practices carried on around Cranbrook, so that new residents arrive informed and our neighboring farms are protected from future complaints. Attach all of these conditions of draft plan approval, not leave them to the engineering or subdivision agreement stage where this community has no further say. And please hold a public meeting before any decision is made using council's discretion, given the volume and nature of the concern in Cranbrook. We're not here to say Cranbrook should never grow. We're here to say that growth of this size in a community this small has to be honest, well planned, and properly serviced. And it should think of the existing community and culture. Please defer this application and give this community the meaningful voice it is asking for. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Hang on a sec, Jordan, in case there's any comments, any questions of council at this point? Hey, I read your documentation before we got here tonight, and I thought it was well worded. I can appreciate some of the concerns, but I can't say I agree with your request for all of them. And I'm just gonna try and give you a simple example, and maybe you might want to put some more thought into something like this. But when you talk about the fact that if this whole thing went ahead, and that's making the assumption it all goes ahead at once, Correct. All the wells get drilled, all the septic systems get put in, all the houses are built. We have a spot over here that was supposed to have 400 houses go up in less than a 5-year period. It's 25 years later and they haven't even put up 100 houses as of yet. So the problem is, even though the plans are laid out, things don't always happen as fast. And so when you start to make a request that after a given time frame, that if somebody's well or somebody's septic system, if they thought it was affected because of the new development, that the developer would be responsible for it. Well, the problem is, even if all 36 lots get passed, what if only 2 houses get built every year for the next 18 years? At what point is it that one of those maybe had an effect on somebody's well or their septic system? And how do you ever identify stuff like that? The problem is, when you leave stuff open like that, it's really hard to ever nail anything down, and it doesn't help either side.
Should I agree? It's on that proposed idea of 2 houses being built every year for 18 years, I mean, yes. I guess deciding on a time frame to deem who's responsible for it is difficult, to say the least. However, we're just trying to figure out that if this does go through, that we are not on the hook. I mean, what if they put 36 houses up in 3 years? And half of Cranbrook's wells run dry. This is our concern. We're not here saying it's gonna happen. I can't predict the future. None of us can. What we are concerned about is that a neighbor of ours, their well, I believe, was drilled at 55 feet. It just ran dry. They re-drilled the well this past week. I'm not sure the depth of the wells they're going. Our concern is that if the average Cranbrook well is 85 feet, 90 feet deep, and they drill 120 feet, we're on the hook we're gonna lose water first. These are our concerns. They're not, we can't, like I said, I can't predict the future. I don't know what's gonna come of it. We are just trying to protect our community the best we can.
Okay. My only other comment is, I appreciate the wording. The number of signatures don't make any difference to me personally. The bottom line is, if you got a good point, you got a good point. Doesn't matter if it's one person's point or 10 persons. But I did appreciate the work that you put into it. As was noted earlier, there is no discussion of council at this point. There will be information coming back. You're more than welcome to come to the August meeting and listen to whatever discussion happens at that council. Okay,
Appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
take care.
Mayor, please.
Oh, go ahead, Bob.
Thank you. To Mr. Shaw, please. How long have you lived in Cranbrook, Mr. Shaw?
We've been there for 4 years.
So go back to when you first moved there. I guess we had some dry summers 3 and 4 years ago. Did anybody run out of water?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not that you're aware of?
No.
Okay. And forgive me, but I don't know the area of Cranbrook. Is there anything there right now for kids to play ball or kick a soccer ball around, or any facilities at all in Cranbrook, Mr. Shaw?
Zero. We have a Cranbrook Community Hall with a tiny little green space. But again, the funding isn't there. We do fish fries and that to raise money. And we weren't included in the 10-year plan, so no, we don't really. We have zero parkland space other than a tiny little swath of grass beside the community center, or town hall, I should say.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Thank you very much, Mr. Shaw. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Yeah, take care. Okay. On. The next item was public meeting for the building services rate study. And so can I get a mover and a seconder that the council of the municipality of Huron East adjourn the regular meeting of council at 6:21 PM to go into a public meeting to discuss the building services rate study? Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Morrison, Councillor Wilby, all those in favor. And motion carries. And can I get a mover and a seconder that the agenda for the public meeting dated July 7, 2026 be adopted as circulated? Moved by Councillor Chartrand, second by Councillor Steffler. All those in favor. Motion carried. Now, we've already had a presentation. Is there another presentation during this evening?
There is no other presentation. This is just our formal requirement with the Building Code Act to have the opportunity for public to speak during a public meeting portion before we approve the actual rate changes later in the agenda.
Okay,
But Tina is available online from Watson and Associates, should you have any questions related to what we previously heard from the study.
so at this point, are there any comments or questions from members of council about the study that we went through? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that I have no problem with the study at all and agree with everything there. I think the big question is, how are we going to implement this? Is this all one and, or are we going to, like, is it going to be rolling? Because that's what we discussed about the changes in prices with some of the permits and stuff like that. And we talked about that we should be cautious of sort of doing everything at once.
Mhm.
Kind of read through the bylaw that's coming up and it sounded like it was all gonna come on at once.
There is the initial fees, and Tina can correct me if I'm wrong, but the ones proposed are the initial fees that would be increased now across all of our categories. And then there are incremental changes over the period to help build those reserves to ensure that we're always building into reserves.
Councillor Deal?
Speaking of the reserves. I've seen that, I can't remember the year, but there's gonna be $900,000 in the reserves by such point.
10 years out, I think it was.
Is it 10 years? But we can't touch that money for anything else within the municipality. Correct?
I believe it has to be used for building code activities.
Is that not a lot of money sitting aside? And God forbid it ever happen. If we ever move to the countywide government, would we, like, that money is just going to be gone? Like, I'm concerned of putting all that money into one basket that we can't touch.
That's a very good point of the, if there was a transition in government. Although I suspect, just like the transition that happened when Huron East was formed, there was a time frame. So then the former wards had the opportunity to decide if they were going to do something with the reserves, and I presume we'd have a little bit of that opportunity also. But I do take your point. I'm not sure that I even agree that having 2 years of expenses available was necessary. I understand the rationale that Tina explained to us at the presentation was that if there was a downturn in the economy, that those members of the staff, you'd want the ability to just find work for them, keep them on even though they weren't doing their regular duties, because they could be very hard staffed to replace if the economy kicked back in or picked up after the fact. And although I agree with that point, I think 2 years seems like an excessive spot for us to basically be the unemployment system, is what it came down to. So I wouldn't be opposed to that number being reduced. The idea of it is still good. And I think we've learned over the course of the last 5 or 6 years that there was probably a lot of things we could have been charging to the building department that we were not, and we should have been. And I think staff are doing a much better job at it now, and whether we've even still caught everything or not, I don't know for sure. But if you want to propose a change to that, this is the time the council can certainly have that discussion.
Well, I definitely agree on having a slush fund there. But that just seems a lot of money that could be used in other places if the need arose.
My understanding is, though, the way the statute is written, if you raise the money through building permits, it has to be used for those services. It's like dog tags, we can't use it to reduce property taxes, it's meant for the services that are being provided for the funds that are raised. Councillor Chartrand.
One of the things that we did discuss when we had the first meeting too, we could set that threshold as we've been talking about it, because she had said to us, at any time, if you think you have enough in there, then stop the increment. Don't do it more increases after the next year, or the next year, or the next year. So you're not continually building up it, you just keep it status quo, whatever threshold you wanna keep it at. So we have that ability to do that, correct?
We do. And I don't know of any major expenses that would come along. I think Counselor Fisher wants to talk here in a second. I don't know of any major expense that would come along that we don't deal with on a regular basis, with the exception of, I do believe our employees in that department use their own vehicles and charge mileage back to the municipality. So if, for whatever reason, we decided we were gonna go out and buy 2 brand new four-wheel drive pickup trucks for them, you can easily be counting well over $100,000 or $150,000 right off the bat for those 2 vehicles. So you would want those funds available to do something like that. But other than that, I can't think of many expenses. Now, there's a few times that we've had requests for different software that would streamline some of those services and have more information available. And I know, and I agreed with council, I wasn't keen on some of those price tags that came along with it. And it's not even just buying software nowadays. It's the yearly fee that you pay for the licensing over and over again that irks me a little bit. So, but at the end of the day, I don't have a problem if council wants to adjust the number. Just come up with the rationale for it and pick a number, and then we vote on it. That's all there is to it. Councillor Chartrand.
Well, I would recommend setting a threshold of 500,000. And then when we reach that threshold, stop the increases after that.
Okay, I'm gonna ask for a little better clarification. I understood exactly what you told me, but the way Tina explained it was you would always do it based on if you had a time frame, and she used the example of 2 years that you could cover the expenses. So as time goes on, of course, CPI and everything else that gets added, that threshold still always had to go up to be able to cover 2 years. So what is it you're hoping to cover with the 500 so that the staff have a metrics to go by to always do those adjustments on their own to get it to that level on a regular basis?
Well, I took the 900,000 that we talked about, basically just not quite cut it in half, so I guess that would be a year instead of 2 years, right?
Okay. And if council's fine with that, that's not a problem. Councillor Fisher, you had some questions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, to these reserves that are being discussed, I unfortunately didn't see them or hear them. But I'm thinking back, I thought anytime the building department had over $200,000 in reserves, the excess went to general funds. Like, has that changed, or is that still our practice?
I don't know that that's ever happened, Bob.
I seem to remember that, discussing that other terms of council.
We may have discussed it, but it's never happened because I think the legislation, the way it's written, you cannot use any of those funds for general use.
I defer to Larry or Alvin then. Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember that at one time, but that could have been a long time ago as well. I think the legislation has changed since then.
Okay, I wasn't aware of the change then. So
Okay,
what?
Denise might have a little bit more information. Bob, give us a second here.
Okay.
Yeah, just a couple comments. I don't think, and Tina can correct me too, I don't think that was ever the legislation of $200,000 maximum. And just for some perspective on this, yeah, about $500,000 is the annual operating budget of the building department. And in 25, we had to use about $65,000 of that reserve, just because of expenses versus revenue, because it has to be self-funded. So just some perspective when you're considering $900,000 in 10 years from now, likely won't be 2 years worth of expenditures.
Good point.
That's a good point, yeah.
We could easily be at 750 or 800 by then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now,
Go
to,
ahead.
sorry, may I speak, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. 2.5 staff and expenses, like software, et cetera. Right now, we're running 500 in the building department.
Correct.
Correct.
Goodness, okay. Yeah, then we maybe don't want to tinker with that top figure. Now, these fees we charge increase annually with CPI, don't they?
That's the recommendation, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought we had been doing that. Anyway.
We haven't touched the building rate fees for several years.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor
Based
Stark.
on, based on what Denise just told us over the 10 years, I don't know that you wanna touch that number.
No,
I
And
cancel my motion.
okay. And I can't tell for sure, you know, where we're gonna be. We certainly have high hopes for a lot of development in Huron East over the north next 5-6 years. And we may have to increase the size of that department. And in actual fact, by the time you get 10 years down the road, that 900,000 may not be any more than 1 year at that point, by the time you get to there. But the more staff you have, the more development you have, the more taxes you're bringing in, so it all does work out at some point.
It's not like we're gonna be there in 1 year. It's gonna take 10 years to get there. right?
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Next comments going forward. Okay, so those were comments or questions from council. Are there any comments or questions from members of the public? I see one gentleman here. Are you here about, oh, sorry, two? Are you here about the building permit issues? No. No? Is there anybody online, Stacy?
Not that I can see, no.
Okay, all right, so no members of the public wishing to speak at this time. So recommendations will be presented following the regular meeting. And then, so at this point, can I get a mover and a seconder to close the public portion of the meeting at 6:34 PM? Councillor Deal, Councillor or Deputy Mayor, that the public meeting for building services rate study be closed. All those in favor? And motion carries. And so now we are looking for the engineer's report for the Fraser Municipal Drain. Welcome.
Thank you. Okay, we put together a small PowerPoint, so just pull that up, please. Anyways, I can get things going. So my name is Adam Hall with Headway Engineering. I want to thank council for the opportunity to present the Fraser Municipal Drain Report here tonight. If you go to the next slide, please. So our authority to work on this project, we were appointed under section 78.5 under the Drainage Act on December 9th, 2025. So 78.5, this is actually a minor improvement for our current drain. So there's different rules with the minor improvement, but one of the main ones here, all the work has to be done on one property. Next slide, please. This slide shows the location. On the right side, it's just a box up here in east, and on the left side, just a blow up of the watershed for our drain. So it's our drain's located kind of on the east side of here in east, and it's right in Moncrief. Next slide, please. Some of the history on the Fraser Municipal Drain. It was originally constructed under report in 1968. And then improvements were also made to the drain under a report prepared in 1984. Next slide, please. We held 2 public meetings. We had an on-site meeting on April 12th, 2026. A few of the items we discussed was relocate the existing open ditch on the Turf's Grinding property, construction timeline and DFO timing windows, and a few other small items. And then we also had an information meeting on June 3rd, 2026. Most of that information went over to the landowner. It's kind of what's here presented in the report tonight. Next slide, please. Some of our findings: the Fraser drain alignment crosses the southern portion of the Turf's Grinding property, leaving a small isolated farmable area in the southeast corner of the farm. The Fraser drain is listed as the E classification under the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, and the watershed is approximately 215.9 hectares in size. So our recommendation is to relocate approximately 228 meters of the Fraser drain in lot 30 in section 16, Grey Ward. Next slide, please. Our total estimated cost for this project is just over $111,000. So one thing with the minor improvement that we're working under, all these costs are to be paid by the landowner who petitioned for this job. And I guess you go to the next slide, but that's all I have for my presentation tonight, so I can field any questions if there are.
Questions of council? I can't believe I'm asking this, but you do come up to a roadway and we're not being charged anything on it.
Yeah, under 785, we can't assess you anything, so it's all on private property for this one landowner.
Okay. You might get hired back. That was just, for information purposes. If there's no other questions to council. Okay, thank you very much for your report.
Yeah, thank you.
We are down to planning report C 33 of 2026, and this is for 86462 Brussels line. Yancey. I think that's how it's pronounced.
Hey, good evening, everyone. So yes, we have a couple severance reports tonight that I hope will be quite straightforward. The first one we have is consent application C 33. And that is on 86462 Brussels line. Next slide, please. So here is the subject lands, retained lands outlined in orange, and the severed house parcel in blue. Next slide, please. And so the purpose of this application is a surplus farmhouse severance. So the lands are surplus to the owner. The applicant is a staff person, but the owner proves surplus for the farmlands. The severed parcel is approximately 1.75 acres, quite tight around the building envelope, but enough space for septic setbacks to building, et cetera, et cetera. And the retained land is approximately 63.25 acres, as there's a small section that was severed a long time ago prior to the Huron County official plan being implemented. It meets all of our policy criteria, and next slide, please. Here is the proposed severed sketch, so you can see the shed, house, weeping bed, laneway, all fronting onto Brussels line there. Next slide. And so, yeah, it is recommended that the application be approved with the standard set of conditions. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Jen? Seeing none. Can I get a mover and a seconder to accept the report? Moved by Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Newell, that council approve consent application C 33 2026, provided the conditions as outlined in the planning report are met. All those in favor? And motion carries. Now we go to planning report C 40.
Wonderful. So another hopefully straightforward one. This one is on North Line, so 81539 North Line. Doug Culbert Surveying is the applicant on behalf of the owner, Brett Ingram. Next slide, please. So here's an air photo of the subject lands. It's really hard to see because the severance is so tiny, but a portion of property from 81539, which is the residential parcel, is being severed and merged with the storage facility at 81545. And this is really to correct a surveying error back in the 60s. And so that is also why Doug Culbert is the applicant on here, because it sounds like he's fixing a mistake perhaps from his office. So it's a very straightforward minor lot addition that is taking that small sliver and severing it from the house parcel, moving it to the storage facility. Next slide. You can probably skip that one too. Yeah, perfect. So here's a copy of the survey work that has been done that shows the
tiny sliver of land. That essentially, effectively right now is being used by the storage. By the storage facility, but is owned by the residential landowner. So they're cleaning up the property lines as they should be reflected. When everything was originally done back in the 60s. Next slide. So we do have policies for minor lot boundary adjustments that don't change the intent of things and don't cause any adverse impacts. This does meet all of the criteria. The one piece being that the residential property is already a little bit undersized as for our privately serviced lots. However, there is aquifer isolation here and there's not a concern from a nitrate perspective of taking that small sliver and moving it to the next property. So that was looked at and seems to be okay. It meets all the other policies and is recommended to be approved. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Councillor Stefan?
Thanks, Brendan. That's Winthrop, correct?
Yes.
So that property beside the storage is for sale.
Oh, okay.
Does it affect anything like that?
It's sold.
Okay, so
Okay. Good to know. I was not aware, but
The size of it, that's all.
yeah, no, I don't think so. So the severance has nothing to do with the actual land owner itself. And likely probably part of the understanding of the sale was that this would be cleaned up. So I will confirm with Doug Culbert tomorrow in the case that anything changes, but given that this is correcting a surveying error, I don't think that there will be any issue. And also, actually, I would say that because Doug Culbert is the applicant and not, he's not the owner, that it can all stay with the applicant who has permission to.
thank you.
Go ahead.
Any other questions? Jen, I just had one.
Sure.
That little shed that was close to the property lines between the properties. It's now closer to the property line. Does that affect anything?
That's a good question. So there is a general provision that if a severance meets all of the policy criteria, that the existing conditions would be recognized in our zoning bylaw. All of that to say that I will double check on the actual survey itself here as to what the.
Like, it looks like it's less than 3 feet.
Yeah, so it looks like it will be 0.55 of a meter from that new
property owner.
line. Yeah, that's a very good question. That being said, through the zoning provisions and because it looks like that too is way at the rear portion of the property. From a zoning perspective, I don't see there being any issues based on that general provision that when a severance like this is done and meets all the rest of the criteria, that would be recognized. But I will definitely chat with Doug tomorrow as to what the plans are with that shed.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a mover and a seconder to accept this report? Councillor Deal and Councillor Wilby. That council approved consent application C40 of 2026, provided the conditions as outlined in the planning report are met. All those in favor? And motion carries. 11.1 municipal drain levy costs of maintenance update. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Deal, second by Deputy Mayor. The council received report drains 2611 for information purposes to assist with the passing of bylaws to levy costs for maintenance of municipal drains. Comments or questions? All those in favor? Motion carries. 11.2 consideration of engineer's report for the Fraser municipal drain. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Steffler, second by Councillor McGrath. That the council accept the engineer's report on the Fraser Municipal Drain 2026 and designate it as bylaw 74 of 2026. All those in favor? And motion carries. Reports and recommendations of municipal officers, and we have a fee bylaw amendment on the building rates. That's the presentation we had at a previous meeting and the discussion we have tonight. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Counselor Staffler and second by Counselor Deal. That council approved the bylaw amendment for fees and charges. All those in favor of that? And motion carried. And under 12.2, risk management service agreement with Asable Bay Field Conservation Authority. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Counselor Dalton, second by Counselor Deal. That council authorize a risk management service agreement with Asable Bay Field Conservation Authority. All those in favor? And motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, please.
Go ahead, Bob.
Thank you. This agreement is going forward with the realignment of conservation areas. Will that impact this agreement? Councillor Chartron, Deputy Mayor, any thoughts?
At this point, we're being told everything that runs at both offices will run the same. Under the new structure, business as usual, so. It's the province that dictates that. Municipalities have to do the risk management service, so that's not gonna change, so. And we don't have the manpower to actually do that risk management services, and that's why they hire the Maitland Valley and Southwood Conservation to do it. Correct, Alvin?
That is correct, yeah, but to be truthful, who knows?
Yeah, I know, there's a lot of unanswered questions still, Councillor Fisher.
That's what I thought. Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Okay. Correspondence. 13.1, FL Minor Ball Committee requests for a significant event designation on August 21st. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Newell, second by Deputy Mayor. That council has no objection in regards to the FL Minor Ball Wing Night. All those in favor? And motion carries. I have nothing under unfinished. We are down to council reports and I go to the Deputy Mayor for County Council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So our last meeting was held last Thursday, July 2nd. We started the meeting with Warden Heffer and the CEO Ward and directors presenting certificates to many long-term service employees. Mr. Ed McGugan, the chair of Maitland Valley Conservation Authority, was present to update us on the conservation amalgamation and his efforts to get the word out to the general public about what's happening with authorities and ask for our support to help get that message out. We dealt with a couple of planning issues, one being severing a house from a farm lot to create a new lot. However, the house was only 10 years old. Central Huron's official plan states the house must be 15 years old. And this is where the property was involved was in Central Huron. So I guess my question is whether or not if this is something we should be looking at as well. I think Central Huron was going to put theirs down to 10 years.
We will be doing our whole official plan review early in 2027. So it's been on the docket in planning for a bit because ours is really due for an official plan of review.
Yeah.
So things like that would be captured in the whole review, which is what we're hoping to get everything into one big process. So that will be coming in 27.
Okay, perfect. Well, I know we've had a couple of them at the county, and so we've kind of struggled with that a bit, and I think we've stuck. I think the county's changed it to 10 years themselves. I think the county, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
So yeah, we did receive a report from Barb Hall concerning affordable housing and homeless plan for the next 10 years. Chris Watson presented an economic development strategy plan for the next term of council. We passed a motion to proceed with the fire hall ambulance station for Seaforth to begin talks with Huron East to look at possible sites, etc. And received that report, and we directed staff to proceed with Huron East for an RFP construction of the fire hall and paramedic base. And I think that was everything.
Any questions? Councillor Stefner.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just listening on the local radio and the local media, it came across as the agreement was done and ready to go. So just if we could have maybe our communications or go back, maybe get a bit of a clarity on that. It's,
It was a headline.
Even in the Citizen newspaper, when you read the headline about it, it looks like I've had people call me saying, we're getting a new firewall. So we're in talks about it right now. That's about all we are.
Wow, okay. I'm shocked that the reporters ever thought it came across that way, because in fairness, and there always should be, there was a few members of county council that should we be spending this kind of money, and wanted more talk about it, and we discussed the fact that as of yet, we don't even have a location where it would go at this point, and it's gotta be something suitable for both Huron East and the county. So yeah, I'm shocked that that was the response from the press.
Sounds like it wasn't.
No. Counselor Deal.
Just going back to, that severance, business with the 10-year, 15-year. So how does that work? When we say it's 15 years and then you go to county and they say it's 10 years,
No, so
is that setting a precedence?
it used to be, is Jen still here?
No.
Oh, okay. It used to be, and I'm not sure when the official planning act came in, and I know Huron County was one of the first to do this, but it was back in 76, 79, somewhere in that time frame. And so anything that happened prior to that didn't matter, but anything from that date forward did, and those were kind of the rules. And then at one point it got changed to if it was more than 25 years old, then you could technically sever it off or something. And the province, I think, had it in all their official plans that way. And the last time the province did their official plan, they don't have a time frame anymore. Theirs is 0. The county started out with 15, just like Central Huron did. The county's updated theirs since then. They went to 10, because we've had the discussion where, like, how many people are building a house with the plan of only just to sever it off to make money on it, and they're gonna do it 15 years down the road. It just doesn't happen, and it was just an arbitrary figure that we threw out there because, well, we used to have 25, well, we can't go to 0, you gotta have something, so, and we realized that even the number in between doesn't really make sense. Because you can make a decision based on each property with the information that's presented about whether you agree or disagree, and you're going to allow something to happen. So the county had already gone to 0, and some municipalities have gone to 10, and Central Huron's planning on going to 10. But what I even gave the mayor of Central Huron a little bit of a jab about was, you're at 15, you want to go to 10, but you're the one that agrees that it shouldn't be anything at all.
Yes.
So that was the point that he was always arguing in counties. Anyways, yeah, it was just, there used to be a date in the provincial one, which we always had to honor, and then the province got rid of it, but we were kind of scared to get rid of it, so we always had a date.
I didn't know whether, like, if we denied it, if they could go to county and county, because of their numbers, could approve it.
The county can always overturn.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. Although I'm gonna say county is very good for at least 95% of the time will honor the wishes of the lower tier.
Thanks.
Are there any other boards, committees, meetings, or seminars that anybody attended that they wish to report on at this time? Okay, seeing none. Are there any requests by members at this time? Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to let people know that probably you all do already, Barb Dalrymple's father passed away a couple weeks ago, and there is a celebration of life, I think it is at the Legion on Friday from 12 to 3. Barb, for the ones who don't know, is a longtime employee of Huron East and McKillop, if I'm not mistaken. So that's happening on Friday. Thank you.
Are there any requests by members? Any notices of motion? Councillor Newell.
Yes, I'd like to make a notice of motion for the naming of the baseball diamond in Brussels near the right on the same property as the Brussels Morris Gray Community Center. It's my understanding that the land was donated to the community center by Jack Bryans, and I just feel it's fitting that Jack Bryans Field could be named Jack Bryans Field again at a future time. So I just want to bring that notice of motion forward.
Okay, Thank you for that. I don't recall here in East what the process is. Does he write one out or you write one out or?
We'll work together to write one out for next time. Yep.
Thank you. Okay. Are there any other notices of motion at this time? Seeing none. Any announcements other than we're about to go on summer holidays? Counselor Deal.
Just wanted to, make sure everyone knows that breakfast on the farm is on July 25th at Joe Turkshaw's farm on McNabb line. You can get tickets online, $5 for your breakfast.
That's cheap.
And
Yeah, I see.
they'll have a bunch of vendors, you can tour the barns, whatever.
Okay.
So,
That's on July 25th, right?
yeah, July 25th,
Yeah. The Saturday.
and yeah, you just have to go online and get your tickets, so.
Any other announcements? Okay, we are down to bylaws. Can I get a mover and a seconder for bylaw 67? Counselor Deal and Counselor Morrison. That bylaw 67, a bylaw to levy the cost of work undertaken on the Hall Municipal Drain 1981 be passed. All those in favor? Motion carries. Can I get a mover and a seconder for bylaw 68? Moved by Counselor Wilby, second by Counselor Steffler. That bylaw 68, a bylaw to levy the cost of work undertaken on the Leonhardt Municipal Drain 1971 be passed. All those in favor? Motion carries. Is there any way to do it phonetically? No. Can I move her in a seconder for bylaw 69, please? Counselor Chartrand, Deputy Mayor. That bylaw 69, a bylaw to levy the cost of work undertaken on the McGregor Municipal Drain 1975 be passed. All those in favor? Motion carries. A mover and a seconder for bylaw 70, Counselor Deal and Counselor Morrison. That bylaw 70, a bylaw to levy cost of work undertaken on the not municipal drain 1975 be passed. All those in favor? And motion carries. And a mover and a seconder for bylaw 71. And Counselor Deal and Counselor Fisher. That bylaw 71, a bylaw to levy the cost of work undertaken on the Reed Municipal Drain 1988 be passed. All those in favor? Motion carries. A mover and a seconder for bylaw 72. Counselor Chartrand and Counselor Deal. That bylaw 72, a bylaw to amend Schedule B-2 Protective Services Building Department fees of bylaw 94 of 2025 be passed. All those in favor? Motion carries. How is it that in July of 26, we're passing a 1920 or 2025?
It wasn't the amendment. We passed the fees and charges at our last meeting in
Oh,
2025 for 2026
okay.
for our user fees, so.
Mover and a seconder for bylaw 73. Moved by Counselor Newell and Counselor McGrath. That bylaw 73, a bylaw for the Fraser Municipal Drain Minor Improvement 2026 be passed. All those in favor? And motion carried. Mover and a seconder for bylaw 74. Moved by Counselor Deal and Counselor McGrath. That bylaw to authorize an agreement with the Asable Bayfield Conservation Authority be passed. All those in favor? And motion carried. And the confirmatory bylaw 75, mover and a seconder, Deputy Mayor, Counselor Newell. That bylaw 75, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council be passed. All those in favor? Motion carried and motion to adjourn at 7 o'clock, Counselor Fisher and Counselor Chartrand. The time now being 7 p.m. The regular meeting do now adjourn until July 28th, 2026 at 6 p.m. All those in favor? And motion carries.